Good afternoon, my dear students. Welcome to the newspaper analysis. Today we shall discuss the newspaper dated November 25. Today, the November 26 is observed as the National Constitution Day. November 26 is observed as National Constitution Day. It was on November 26, 1949 that Indian Constitution was adopted by the Constituent Assembly. Today is the birth centenary, the 99 years. Dr. �W𝐴𝐺𝐸 would have been 99 years had he been alive today. Dr. �W𝐴𝐺𝐸 is the father of White Revolution. So, we shall start with the newspaper November 25. Let us begin. This is the front page. Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry on edge as cyclone �W𝐻𝐻 closes in, and it cites that government bans 43 more applications citing threat to security. So, the eastern coast of India has always been prone to cyclone hits. This time it is cyclone �W𝐻𝐻. It was yesterday night 2:30 that the highest intensity waves hit the eastern part of India. The government has taken all the precautions to shift people to safer places. So, hopefully it may not cause much havoc, let us hope so. So, the �W𝐻𝐻, that is going to be important. Look at, please take note of this name, cyclone �W𝐻𝐻. Whenever a cyclone hits the eastern coast and creates damage, the national attention goes to that, and that becomes very important for our examination too. So, cyclone �W𝐻𝐻, the name is very, very important, that has hit the eastern part of India, especially Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry coast. Government bans 43 more applications. We know that plenty of popular Chinese applications popular in India were banned by the government of India citing national security. It all happened after the skirmishes on the eastern border of India between Indian and Chinese armies. So, the government has banned 43 more applications. We know that in the earlier stages the gaming app like PUBG, TikTok, UC browser, Baidu, WeChat work, and Rise of Kingdoms, Lost Crusade, everything were banned. All these things were Chinese applications, mostly gaming applications, they were banned, and now the government is still on the offensive, banning more Chinese applications. So, the relationship between India and China are not at all good. So, it is not just the border issues, it has even plagued the trade between the countries. So, the names of the application and all are not necessary, but you should understand that there is a so called trade war beginning or in the offing between India and China. India, many economists suspect that India is moving towards some kind of a protectionism which is widely criticized also. So please take down this. India has banned 43 more Chinese applications such as Ali Suppliers, AliExpress, Alipay Cashier, Camcard, DingTalk, etc., etc., citing threat to national security, integrity and sovereignty of the country. They have issued order under section 69A of the Information Technology Act blocking access to 43 mobile application. So that section and all may not be that important, but please take note of the act. It is Information Technology Act that is invoked while banning the applications. A diplomatic offensive. India did well to highlight the terror threat from Pakistan amid steps along the border. We know that always, every year, just before the winter, infiltrators infiltrate into Indian territories, creating troubles. This time also it continued, and Indian forces tried their best to stop. We know about the Nagrota incident, in which a few terrorists were killed, and now it is not just an offensive by the Indian armed forces, rather the government of India seemed to have done well to make a diplomatic offensive, citing Pakistan's ploy in front of the international community. So that is very important, because that is the real pressure that we can apply on Pakistan, and Pakistan has got exposed and they are included in the grey list of FATF. We know that Pakistan had to do something to come out of the grey list of FATF, which will be under review in February 2021. I discussed those things in the previous days too. FATF is a G7 initiated group. G7 means group of 7 rich nations. Any country which has providing amenities for or facilities for terrorism activities or financing terrorism activities, or will be included in the grey or black list of FATF, and such countries will not get any kind of financing. So Pakistan hoped that in the last review in October it would come out of the grey list, but FATF continued to include Pakistan in the grey list. So Pakistan's next opportunity come in February 2021. So hopefully this is how diplomatic pressure can be applied on a state to mend its ways. So hopefully by February Pakistan will do more. We know that Pakistan arrested one of the major most wanted person by the United Nations organization and USA, and of course India too, for making troubles in terror attacks in Mumbai. So Hafiz Syed was arrested, and these are all done to get out of FATF. So it is not just the military offensive which will become effective in teaching Pakistan the ways, but even the diplomatic offensive, which are very much commendable. Dangerous suggestion. This article refers to the internal working group of Reserve Bank of India's suggestion to open the banking world to corporate entities. The newspaper says that it is going to be a very dangerous suggestion, which is very true also. Very true in the sense that how can the borrower become the banker himself? How safe and prudent the loans will be? We know that Indian banking system is already going through a very big stress. The total non-performing assets of the banking system is equivalent to or to the tune of 10 lakh crore, and of course COVID times have added fuel to fire. At this point of time, a suggestion of this kind is highly unwelcome, even otherwise it is not welcome. Why? Because generally these internal working group reports do not invite any public attention, rather these discussions get limited within the banking circle. But for the first time, when a suggestion of this kind came, immediately senior bankers, including the former Governor Reserve Bank of India, Dr. Raghuram Rajan, and Deputy Governor, many Deputy Governors of Reserve Bank of India, came out in the open saying that this was very much unwelcome, because corporate entities have got their own interests and they may siphon the funds out of the banking system. Bank funds are public funds and they will not be safe in the hands of the corporate sector. That is what the article says. So please read Viral Acharya and Dr. Raghuram Rajan and the Standard & Poor, the credit rating agency. All these have they have criticized the internal working groups recommendation to open banking for corporate sector. An excellent article by T.T. Rammohan. He is a professor of IIM Ahmedabad. A beautiful article. He says, say no to corporate houses in Indian banking. This article is a must read article. Anybody who aspires for a bank examination should read this. Why? Because at the time of the interview and all, you can cite points. Listen, it says, it pins down all points. RBI maintained that it was open to letting in corporates. However, none of the applicants had met fit and proper criteria. You see, the internal working group believes that before corporate houses are allowed to enter banking, RBI must be equipped with legal framework to deal with the interconnected lending and mechanisms. Listen, interconnected lending is the trouble. Why? Because imagine that I am a borrower and I am allowed to become the owner of the bank, then interconnected lending will take place. We must keep in mind what happened to ICICI Bank. ICICI Bank gave 4,000 loans to the husband of its chairman. So what if the owner becomes or the borrower becomes the owner? Then we have to face graver issues. So at some point of time, the article says that even if it is the RBI is equipped legally, the scrutiny of a bad loan can take place, or interconnected loans can take place only after the disbursal of the loan and not before that. RBI's monitoring will come into play only after the disbursal of the loan. So corporate houses are adept at routing funds through a maze of entities in India and abroad. Very important. Tracking interconnected lending will be a challenge. So that is the first thing that Professor Rammohan cites. He says that interconnected lending will be a challenge. Monitoring transactions of corporate houses will require cooperation of various law enforcement agencies. Corporate houses can lose their political clout to thwart such cooperation. So that is the challenge number one, he says. Secondly, RBI can only react to interconnected lending. That is what I said. RBI can only react, not act, but only react. Interconnected lending. Entities of corporate houses has happened only after lending that the monitoring can take place. So, it is unlikely to be able to prevent such exposure. Exposure means providing loans. Third, suppose RBI does not latch into the interconnected lending, how is RBI to react? Any action that RBI may take in response could cause a flight of deposits from bank concerned and precipitate its failure. Listen, another point. Suppose interconnected lending is spotted and RBI takes action. Once RBI takes action, immediately there will be a run on the bank, depositors will start withdrawing. This has happened to Lakshmi Vilas Bank. When RBI started taking actions on Lakshmi Vilas Bank, what has happened to Lakshmi Vilas Bank? Lakshmi Vilas Bank's lending became very bad, their non-performing assets touched almost 26%, there was capital erosion, it could not find fresh capital to meet the capital demand. So, RBI had to swing into action to save. They first applied a moratorium on withdrawals. All of a sudden the investors will get panicked and they will start withdrawing deposits in bulk. This may repeat here also. Once the regulator starts taking action against a bank, immediately depositors will get panicked and they will start withdrawing the money. So, that is another issue. And putting the regulator against powerful corporate houses could end up damaging the regulator itself. The regulator would be under enormous pressure to compromise on regulation. Listen, powerful corporate lobbies, if they become bankers, then the regulator will get weakened, because a regulator will have to face them, and facing big corporates will be a big challenge to the regulator itself, and it will weaken the regulator. That is what the article says. Anyway, please read this article. This will give you a lot of information regarding the recent internal working group suggestions to allow corporates to own banks. Listen, banking is a very sensitive area. We can open up our airline sector, we can open up our steel sector, we can open up our oil sector, but a few sectors are very, very crucial, because for millions of small businesses, banks offer the capital, and if banking sector comes under the control of the corporate sector, then we will be going back. In 1969, when we went for nationalization, the major problem was that, before that the major problem had been that most of the banks were under the control of private houses, corporate houses, and they were reluctant to provide loans to public. So, it is to find a solution to that we opened up, we went for nationalization, and nationalization, despite all its deficiencies, was the biggest ever banking reforms in India, and that ensured that a bank branch is in every nook and corner of the country. So, now we will be going back if we again give back our banking sector into the hands of the corporates. Love in the time of Hindutva, it is a good article. The article refers to the soon to be taken decision by many BJP ruled governments. Many states are going for legislation to prevent the so called love jihad. I told you that it will be very difficult for such a law to stand the test of constitutionality, because it is not acceptable for the state to intervene in private relations. So, the intent of the law is wrong. That is what the article also suggests. Please read and have and make your own ideas. Permanent Commission Army officers move the Supreme Court. Women Army officers on Tuesday moved the Supreme Court to debunk the defense establishment's announcement that 422 of the 615 women officers screened have been found fit for the Permanent Commission. Okay. So, just keep this idea in mind that Permanent Commission has been offered to women for the first time. What their complaint is that in fact they said only less than 50% of women officers have been actually granted Permanent Commission. That is their complaint. They say that this is not the case. It is not 422 out of 615 women officers are given Permanent Commission. They say that actually it is less than 50%. Okay, that figures and all are not important, but what we need to know is that women are absorbed in the army as Permanent Commission. Farmers set out for indefinite siege of Delhi from tomorrow. We know that the recent 3 laws made by the Indian Parliament were not acceptable to farmers. One of the provisions was they believe that the minimum support price will be taken out, which the government said they will not, but still they are apprehensive that if the recent reforms take place, the law takes its root, immediately or in the subsequent years the minimum support price will be withdrawn. That is one of their apprehensions. And another thing is that APMCs, agriculture marketing, the so called mandis will be closed, and the agriculture corporates will take over the mandis, and that is also not acceptable to farmers, especially farmers from Punjab and Haryana. They are marching to Delhi to take siege on the capital, and they are coming in trucks. The newspaper, the television reports say that the government is using all its authority and power at disposal to prevent farmers, but farming community in the north, in Punjab and Haryana, are very big group. So, let us see what is going to evolve. Sri Lanka, China to focus on poverty alleviation. Listen, this is what I spoke about yesterday also. We know that Chinese influence is increasing around India. China is influencing heavily Pakistan, China is influencing Nepal, and Chinese investment in Sri Lanka is also going up. So, China is a very rich country having a lot of surplus money with them. So, they are giving huge loans to all these countries. We know that Sri Lanka was given millions of dollars to construct their port and container terminals in Colombo. So, through this, Chinese government will slowly start influencing governments of those countries and even dictating terms to those countries. This is what India is. This is what is worrying India. Anyway, please read this. And Colombo has sought 700 million loan from Beijing, in addition to 500 million obtained in March. Also is negotiating a 1.5 billion currency swap facility with the People's Bank of China. So, undoubtedly Chinese influence is increasing around India, which is a worrisome aspect to Indian government. Government orders priority to local tenders. Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. This was announced in May. The government said that Indian ministries have to purchase things locally. All tenders amounting to rupees 200 crore or less have to be from within Indian companies. Foreign companies are to be excluded from such tenders whose values are below 200 crore. So, the government has tightened its procurement norms to make it tougher for ministries to pursue global tenders for contracts worth up to 200 crore. This is very important, this figure is also very important. Under the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, government had barred department from issuing global tenders for contracts worth 200 crore or less, meaning if any ministry has to buy, procure anything, and if the tender value is below 200 crore, then it has to be from local companies and not from global entities. Global entities are barred from participating in such tenders. Of course, on the face of it, these things may be good, but we have to understand that we were able to alleviate poverty to a great extent by opening up our market and not closing down the market. That when the world is moving in one direction, we cannot move in the other direction. So whether we are moving towards a kind of a protectionism is something that we have to be very careful about. Pent-up demand spurring activity may not sustain, says ICRA. ICRA says that of course we know that in September the GST revenue went up by 4%, and in October it crossed 10.5%. For the first time in the financial year, the GST revenue went up beyond 1 lakh crore, close to 1 lakh crore. Immediately the government celebrated by saying that the economy is back on track, but the euphoria may be short sighted. Many economists have said that thanks to the lockdown there has been a pent up demand, and that piled up accrued demand or pent up demand would be reflecting in the economy, and that may not sustain. Now ICR also says that it is going to be the pent up demand that is showing up and not the real demand. So economy may continue to reel under recession for some more time. That is what many reports say. Prime global residential prices may rise by 2% in 2021. Of course, we know that real estate has been in doldrums thanks to COVID, but this is a sigh of relief for them, saying that the global residential prices may rise by 2% in 2021. These are all things that will connect you to the world of finance and economics. Please read, show interest in everything. Of course, this is the nomination by nomination to the International Cricket Council's ICC Players Award. Virat Kohli, India's captain, is nominated for 5 awards in 5 categories. So when these awards come or are declared, then it will become very important. Now it is a nomination. Virat Kohli is nominated to all 5 categories, and Ashwin is also there. Kohli and Ashwin are the 2 Indians among 7 players nominated for the most prestigious award, Player of the Decade award. Virat Kohli, Ashwin, Joe Root, Kane Williamson and Steve Smith and AB de Villiers. Okay, Kumar Sangakkara. So please, 2 Indians are nominated for the Player of the Decade award, very important. That may come, and of course when the award is announced, let us hope that Indians will be awarded. So who are the major women players? Is there an Indian? All these things are to be very keenly watched, and the names should also be taken down. Thank you very much for watching the program. Of course, the newspaper analysis is not just to pick a few questions, which I give even otherwise through my notes and all. I am giving you daily notes as well as the weekly notes and updates. I am giving you a lot of information which will definitely be useful. Listen, we had some issues with the application yesterday, but things are fixed and the app is functioning. That was due to the problems regarding server connectivity, but we are able to fix that, and a few more new updates will be coming, which will definitely help you better. We will be able to serve you better with that. So the State Bank of India, it is expected that the State Bank of India's clerical recruitment will be announced in January 2021, that is generally the case be. So, please make sure that you are really pumped up and studying very hard. That is very, very important, because you would think that okay, in the last lap or last 10 days, 15 days we can learn. That is not the case. It requires constant and continuous efforts to succeed. So, we will meet you again at 3 o'clock today with another live session. Sometimes tomorrow's GA 12 o'clock sessions may not be there, but of course that paper will be covered the next day. Anyway, at 3 o'clock we shall meet again. Thank you, goodbye, have a very good day ahead.